Welcome back to the Owner Seat podcast. Most wellness businesses are built by one person wearing every hat. You all know this. The clinician, the operator hat, the finance hat and brain, all in one exhausted founder. Today's episode is what it looks like when you split those hats across three owners on purpose with intention. It's a first for this show, 3 operators, 1 business, and an honest look at how it actually runs. The Fix Wellness Lounge is Hermosa Beach premier destination. You got to go. By the way, shout outs to my home state, Southern California. So the Fix Wellness Lounge is for holistic healing, recovery, and peak performance. Chiropractic care, functional nutrition, and a full recovery floor. Think some of my favorites: cold plunge, cryotherapy, infrared sauna, IV therapy, NormaTec compression, near infrared light beds. And you got to try this out. Everyone can benefit from it. It's called EXOMIND, transcranial magnetic stimulation. It's a mouthful, but it does wonders. It's a serious modality stack, and behind it is a leadership team most wellness brands would kill for. Dr. Lizette Beam is the clinical foundation, a doctor of chiropractic and certified functional nutritionist specialist with over 25 years of clinical experience. She spent nearly a decade building a successful boutique practice in Manhattan Beach before expanding that vision into the Fix. Amy Comfer is the finance engine. She's an owner and founder of The Fix, and I know I'm biased. I won't ask her too many questions. We're going to have some fun, and she brings a resume you don't usually find inside a wellness lounge. CFO and Chief Compliance Officer of Northern Air Systems, former CFO of Summer Street Capital Partners, a private equity fund manager with over $550 million in committed capital, plus finance leadership stops at Discover, Citi, and Constellation Wide. And finally, we have Kelly Gelfand as the operator, a chief operating officer. She led the launch of the flagship Hermosa Beach location. You got to check it out, from clinic build out to operational infrastructure. And she still works hands-on with clients as a wellness practitioner. Before the Fix, she built brands at Red Bull, pirate brands from $20 million to over $100 million in 3 years, on the way to its 195 mil sale to B&G Foods. And she ran national marketing for House of Blues at Live Nation. A clinician, a CFO, and a brand operator, all owning one clinic together. That's the conversation. How it works, where it breaks. We'll give you the raw and the real, what they do differently if they can go back, and what expansion looks like from here. Lizette, Amy, Kelly, welcome to the Owner Seat podcast.
Thank you. Very happy to be here.
Amy, so you've been a CFO of private equity fund. I mentioned over 550 mil committed capital. You spent a career revitalizing. You're the turnaround queen. I love it. The boss lady. Walk me through the owner's math on this one, on this specific wellness studio and the concept. What did you see in the single location wellness clinic that made you feel like, okay, we got to put some capital in this and put a name on it?
Yeah. So, I mean, Lizette and I, we have been best friends for 20 years. And, I did evaluate, the Fix the same way I would evaluate any other business opportunity. I've worked across several industries and at very different stages of the business life cycles. I've been in large public companies, private equity-backed companies, entrepreneurial, and then also companies going through significant transformation. And, the industries change, but the fundamentals of good business do not. So, we looked at market demand, customer need, the competitive landscape, of course, capital requirements, revenue opportunities, and the ability to create repeatable systems.
So good.
Yeah. And now Lisette, I mean, she's already built a tremendous clinical credibility. She's well known in the community there. She has a loyal client base. And so that reduced one of the largest risks of a startup, is whether the market would trust the clinical offering.
Right. That's a big thing when it comes to wellness compliance, right? And credibility. You're right. I've followed Dr. Lizette for a while, and we'll talk about the move from New York to California. But Kelly, I had my sugar-free Red Bull this morning. I don't know if I mean, it's delicious. It's amazing. Actually, it is good because it's my energy without the sugar. That's good for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
You built brands there at Red Bull, and then pirate brands. I mentioned it. I mean, 20, 100, and then the sale, obviously. How do you split a founding team's roles so decision rights are clear? And how do you systematize all of this? You're clearly hands-on still, but how do you make sure? I mean, it's a lot of modalities. There's a lot of verticals and equipment going on and client experiences. How did you organize all of it?
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you, like, the skill set that I've built over the years of having many different experiences working for different industries and different companies, whether it was Red Bull or even a airplane company or entertainment brands, it's always been about the people and the management of the people and finding the
Right.
talent behind that, right?
Absolutely.
So, and then working with Lisette, I mean, I already had a background in health and wellness myself. It's always been a passion of mine.
Love it.
But, she really opened me up to a whole new world of like, what are these wellness products and healing mechanisms that are going to take us to the next level and really elevate what we do. So it was quite the bear of learning about, some of these new and innovative machines and technologies that are out there and how it was really going to support our overall business and then finding the right people to help, execute that against. So it's definitely a flow. It's always, my hat always started in all my jobs with the consumer first. I always put my consumer hat on first and what is going to be the experience that we give someone when they walk through the door. And then what is that
Mhm.
journey to help them heal or perform at the highest level to meet their goals.
Yeah.
So when I think you always embody that and you think about, what is your goal? What is your mission? And you start there, the things just kind of fall into place. And, it's a really special environment that we've created here, unlike anything else I've ever seen. And I've been out and done a lot of the market research and I've had a background in events and production and working in different spaces. And when you bring something together like this and you see how people respond, it's just magic, So some of
Yeah.
it I can explain and some of it you just kind of see. You see how it all comes together and it's pretty special.
You can see it. I see it through the social media. Whoever's running that, crushing
Mhm.
it. I love seeing all of the different clients on there, the modalities, the smiles, right? The experiences. You could tell that you all really care about every single experience. I can't wait to talk about the operating model. But before I get there, I'm just curious from either one of you. You had the credibility, the clients, the reputation. I mean, you had it controlled down out in Manhattan, or sorry, in New York. What was the reason for the move to California, Manhattan Beach, and how is it going thus far? What'd you have to learn? I mean, New York, California, they're a little bit different.
Yeah, so actually, I reside in New York. That's where Lisette and I first met. So she lived in New York at the time, and then she relocated to California with her husband for his job.
Got it.
So that is where she's really built her boutique business out there. And yes, I think she's been out there now for over 10 years.
Hmm.
And how was that like, Kelly, from a build out, right, in Hermosa Beach? For those listening, if you're in my parts of the world of Central or in the South and Texas, or you're a little bit more out east or Southern, I mean, the price per square foot is it's not cheap out in Hermosa Beach. So how was that build out from construction to operational infrastructure, recruiting, equipment? How did that all go?
It's been quite a journey. And I
Yeah.
mean, I will tell you, I think our story is a little unique and we've learned a ton from the beginning, right from the jump. We had an amazing partner, an amazing landlord that owns our space, but we had to immediately go in with the city and
Yeah.
start changing code. Like literally, they were giving us challenges and pushback on, how they were deeming our facility a non-medical facility, which just didn't make
Right.
sense. And there were just some ambiguous words and some coding that they had that we had to literally go in and have several meetings with the city to explain, like, this is what our facility is.
Yeah.
This is the pushback that we're getting. And not only did we, eventually achieve our goal of being deemed a medical practice and that has certain tax advantages and things like that and ability of
Mhm.
space that we have in where we are now. But we also worked directly with the city to change some things that we felt is already going to help people that come and start to build business after us. So we already
So
felt like
good.
our journey of like helping others started, right at the foundation. And then, finding the space where we are at, it's such central to our whole community and having parking and having the accessibility for, again, our clients at the very beginning of thinking about what is their experience going to be. So again, finding a great partner like the church, Hope Chapel, that is our landlord, and then finding the right people to put in place, a great architect and, construction's construction. It's got its ups and its down and its challenges. And we could go into some interesting conversation about really doing your due diligence to find out about who
Love
you're
that.
working with and what their experience really is. We're kind of, having some bumps and bruises later on down the path, but it's all been this amazing learning experience, and having the team that we have here with Amy and Lisette, strong women all supporting
Mm.
each other and really using our minds and our efforts to like make this thing came together. It was quite a bear to take on, but it was something we all felt super passionate about. And, we're still making changes every day. Not only are
Yeah.
we now open and healing people, but we're still working with the city. We're still working with other subcontractors and contractors to help kind of make some changes and change how processes might continue to evolve as people get into business and build out their own spaces.
And as you're giving us those examples, I'm just seeing dollar sign after dollar sign because I know this city
Mm.
loves to charge. Every time you come and chat with them and visit them, I'm hearing permits and licensing and coding and zoning and all of those fun things. And then now you're talking, and for those that have tuned in for a while, you know this. I like to make sure, and you said the right words, due diligence when it comes to those contractors as well, right? Those GCs, the landlord, the property manager, and don't sign a thing until you fully read that lease, right? Because all of those things play in on your occupancy costs when you're thinking about your unit economics. Occupancy costs in our world, outside of payroll, are some of the largest line items that can really derail. But I love that you all were all on it, and obviously it sounds like you've had some learning lessons. I'm curious on the modalities because you have a lot going on there. Which, by the way, I can't wait when I come home, come see the parents, and then I'm coming to fix. I'm coming right away. So y'all, I'll be there soon. From a modality perspective, is there anything that you'd go back from the start and say, you know what, we probably should have never started this or started with this? Is there anything you would take away if you could go back?
I think so. I mean, we were really specific and vetted. I mean, there's things that we thought we would have in here that we haven't gotten, and there's a reason why we haven't gotten them yet. And we always
Mhm.
knew that there was going to be like this phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 approach on
Yeah.
how we were going to build out the space, because we couldn't take it all on at the beginning. There was, just like you said, we offer a lot, and to manage that and to understand how it all operates and how the patient care was going to actually flow was really important. So I wouldn't say that there's been any one piece of equipment or anything that we regret buying at the beginning, but there were some changes that we had to just adapt to and become more able to just like shift and
Yeah.
make a pivot when needed.
Yeah.
And those came
Adapt.
down the
Yeah.
line. I mean, I will just tell you from a building perspective, I learned a lot about electrical, which wound up being a big part of
Yeah.
our dollar sign, because of all the equipment that we did have and we do have here. It requires a lot of electrical work,
You learned about voltage.
I learned a lot about voltage. I learned a lot about, I mean, you'd be amazed at talking to these vendors that own these machines, that created these machines, didn't know the weight of the machine, didn't know
Yeah.
the ampage that these machines were putting out. And I'm like, this should be easy spec sheet stuff. And
Right.
it wasn't. So, and we had to learn a lot about like infrastructure, and we had to reinforce our floors because things were a lot heavier than what the building could
Yeah.
accept at the beginning. And again, having a great partner, a great landlord, they knew and believed in us from the beginning. And they were like, we'll help support you in this, and became a partner in us, sharing some of those costs when necessary.
Yeah.
And, they're, true partners of ours in believing like we were doing something special here and wanted to bring it to their community and the community at large. So
I love me some Ti and Amy. I mean, I'd love to pick your brain just with all of this, not only in the build out phase, but now, post launch. How did you manage cash flow? Was this more capital raise? Was this debt financing? Is there equipment financing? Can you walk us through just all of the different variables and how creative you had to get to make this come to life?
Yeah, absolutely. I came from a private equity background. I've worked for banking. I've never worked in any of those industries as the female entrepreneur, though. And so it was a bit of a wake up call when we tried to get independent financing. and to realize that, because you hear that the SBA is partial to women and small business.
I've heard
And
the stories for sure.
yeah, that did not work out for us. Because as women as well, you have your husband's, a lot of your property is in your husband's name. And so you don't specifically have collateral in just your own name. And so they're looking for collateral. They're looking for an existing business that already has a couple years financials to present. So Lisette and I have both invested quite heavily from a personal level. And, because I even went to, independent fund, like family funds. I have probably spoke with 30 different people, just trying to raise some interest. And mostly it was just that we were too small. Our ask was too small. People just weren't interested in entertaining that small of an ask. So no, we did get some creative funding out of this. We managed to make it work. So yeah, I mean, that's where we're at
That's
now.
so good. Yeah. And it's a great story because you all clearly, from the top, we were chatting about your background, all so talented, right? And it's great to hear as people will check you out on social media and obviously go experience your destination, your location. And people don't realize, like, to be an entrepreneur, yes, you have all of these different ideas. And of course, there's operationalizing it, but there's also funding it. And a lot of times you get far more no's than the yes. And you all have had to put up your own money or be creative in how you inject capital because there's equipment financing or even equipment purchasing. And then all of the things that Kelly, you were chatting about, from flooring to your electric. I mean, it can add up. And I know, coming from California, to just add another premium on top of what people probably think about on this call, for whoever is listening. If you're thinking a number, add double that, please.
Exactly.
So it's very interesting. And Dr. Lizette, I want to come to you because I'm really curious about the modalities selected from a clinical lens, because I look at your modality stack and it is deep. I don't think I've ever seen this deep of a stack, and I can imagine how much your clients love this and the variety that they get to heal, from newbie to shockwave to the light meds to EXOMIND. I'd love to hear more about that. I'm personally very intrigued. I'm a big vitamin B, and I don't drink enough water, so I just get my IV. That's my hydration for the week or for the month. It's so terrible. I need to drink more water, but I love getting
You
my
depend on
IVs
the
because
IV
clearly my
bag,
body
huh?
was like, that bag goes away in like minutes. It just,
Yeah,
all the water is gone. I'm hydrated. I'm like, great.
feels
What,
great.
what made you choose one thing over the other from a clinical lens?
Sure. I just want to make sure you can hear me.
We can.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
perfect. I have been in this wellness world for 26 years as a chiropractor, and since 2003 working on the evolution of how functional medicine has become more mainstream. I was getting my nutritional courses and licenses in 2003, and that has evolved over time. And you start to see patterns. You start to see what the body really needs in order to function well and maintain longevity. And well, just maintain health, really, to live and move and function in a very, I don't want to say toxic environment, but we have a lot of challenges on us, and depending on how your cell functions. So everything came down to cell function and neuroplasticity. How are we supporting how we think, how we grow our brain, and what our neural connection is, as well as how is our cell functioning. So, cell needs oxygen, it needs stimulation, it needs fuel, period. And so you can use different things, different levers to pull on different things for the cell energy system, essentially. You hear things from, nutrition to peptides to NAD to all these little things. And it just comes down to what makes sense for that person and that individual. And so we could not open with delivering oxygen in some capacity without working on the brain and the nervous system in some form. Because as a chiropractor, our foundation is the chiropractic adjustment creates neuroplasticity. Unfortunately, the environment that we live in you'd have to go to the chiropractor every day to get an adjustment to get that constant stimulation of that. So there's other modalities that help us sustain that better. And so when we're looking at these stacks, it really was based on that foundation.
It sounds like you're waking up the body. I love that.
Yeah.
It's
how can we move the needle?
Right.
How can we move the needle in a very impactful and profound way that the patient feels it? And Kelly, you said this before. When Kelly and I first met, the first time I treated her, she kind of got off the table and she goes, there's something to this, because normally you go and you don't feel it right away. This, you feel a shift. And that's what we're trying to give. That experience is what we provide. We provide that hope. We provide that shift. And I think that's, when we're looking at the wellness space, it was a very difficult decision to say, hey, let's start this from the ground up. I was doing fine in my small little practice. And, even now my husband's like, do you ever want to go back? And I'm like, no, because there's so much more. I saw all these clinics popping up around town, and these models that, are proven with the PA studios and the restorers and the IV drip places and all these things, but there was no true clinical direction. There was no one there holding your hand to say, this is where you are now, your biomarkers, where you want to go, and let's help you get there.
I love that you just mentioned that. Because I'm on a lot of calls, whether it's investment groups or private equity. I represent a lot of longevity wellness organizations, and they ask me, well, where do you think this is going? And I love that you just mentioned biomarkers. I think we have all of these different modalities, from sleep all the way through to IV. And you mentioned it, peptides and cell signaling is like the hot thing right now. Yep. But the foundation of where are you at today versus once you have these protocols, where are you at 3 months from now, 6 months from now? And so I love, and this is why I think the fix is everything. I think you all are doing a fantastic job, because your measurables, the measurables are key. Can you walk us through the customer journey? You guys were mentioning the customer point of view earlier, which I love that you all are doing that. Can you walk us through the journey, and how does the measurable, that foundation, come into play?
Well, Kelly and I can both talk about this. Kelly, if you want to start, because she's kind of the first point of contact. I'm usually in the back. I got my head down. I'm fortunately right now, I want to say a little bit of the bottleneck, but we're trying to create systems to not make me the bottleneck. So that's kind of where we're at.
We talk about that on the show, the founder bottleneck.
Go ahead, Kel.
Well, for us here too, like there's things that are practitioner based, and then there are things that people can do outside of just having a practitioner's hands on your body, right? So, how a patient interacts with our space is first our front desk staff. There's a ton of questions. And I also want to back up and just kind of talk about something real quick. The health and wellness space has changed so much. I started my career in physical therapy over 25 years ago. I was a massage therapist and working as a tech, and then became an office manager. And at that time, physical therapy was getting paid. They were getting paid by insurance companies. Yeah. They're not getting reimbursed that well anymore.
Yeah. Insurance doesn't want to pay.
They don't want to pay. And they certainly don't want to pay for the things that are actually going to work, and the things that are actually
crisis care.
That's right. So the things that we offer here, and I still do get the occasional person on the call, like, why don't you take insurance, or this is so expensive. And it is true, health and wellness and going and paying out of pocket on your own can be costly. But in my mind, and what I see people that walk through our door every day, is we're getting you well. You are getting well. We are in one visit making you feel better than when you walked in the door, and you're feeling better when you walk out that door. So the customer journey, we always like to say here, it's customized for every one individual, because not everyone is coming in with the same issue or same ailment or goal to perform at a higher level. So we really do take that into account from the point one of contact, is having a conversation with our patients, having a conversation with them with what their goals are and what their needs are. And obviously, we've got the standard questionnaire that goes out and asks them questions. And, we dive in. We dive in from the moment someone walks through the door and then they sit on the couch and they're just waiting for the practitioner to either bring them back, or we're taking them into any other modality that they're trying for the first time. We're about to relaunch our website that's going to be much more information and much more exciting for them to understand and have a taste and a connection to what opportunities they have at the Fix to help heal them. So
Mhm.
again, it starts with the individual. We talk to them first, and then most likely we set them up with a practitioner so that they have a consultation and an evaluation, and then we create a whole treatment and protocol plan for them.
Love that.
That might include, a mixture of seeing a practitioner multiple times a month and then layering in the stack of modalities, whether it be hyperbaric oxygen or near infrared light or EXOMIND, or making sure that they're in line with, what their recovery plan is. And it's
Yeah.
not that we want to rush people through or get people on the field faster, but what we've learned and the science has proved is that, these approaches with these different modalities do work. And, with the leadership of Dr. Beam and hands-on from some of our other practitioners, we're making that happen. So I think that, we look at our patients here as individuals, but also as a family and a community. And that approach of it being a holistic, facility that they can come and get just about anything here when you talk about conditioning, recovery, and repair, that's our mindset. And that's what we talk to our patients about. And then, throughout their journey too, it's not just the protocol we create for them at the beginning. We evaluate midstream. How are you feeling? What's working? Do we have to pivot something? How do we adjust? Because people are getting well faster or because there are adjustments that need to be made. And we really try to customize that as well and become, I don't know if affordable is the right word, but we'll customize packages for our patients where it's something that, they can understand and see that will work for them. And usually when we get down to that part of the conversation, they feel like, wow, I really got a plan. I've really
The
got,
value's all there. I
yeah,
mean,
I've got this
the way
roadmap.
you
Let's help.
explained it, everything is so connected. And to your point, you not only feel great, but that plan and those measurables and the protocols, I mean, that is where it's at. And that's where I think a lot of others are missing it. I'm
Yeah.
curious though, and I think why a lot of other facilities or clinics or studios or wellness clinics miss it is because they don't look at it from the unit economics. And Amy, I'm curious about this on how you looked at this from utilization to, did you all decide to do more of a reoccurring revenue model? Is this a one-off visit? Is this class packs? And how did you come up with that? And I think that's where this is where a lot of other founders, I think, get it wrong is they don't take the time to go through what you just mentioned, Kelly, from a customer point of view and really think about what's going to make them sticky in return. And some of these variables like utilization and all of that, it's never discussed. It's just like, let's just try something. Amy, what are your thoughts? Like, how did you build that?
Well, it's really been more of a group effort, but I mean, we do view, different revenue streams as serving different purposes. A single session kind of lowers the barrier for someone who just wants to come in and experience the effects or to address an immediate need. Packages, they support a more structured treatment or recovery plan, and then memberships can help create consistency for clients and predictability for the business. And, the recurring revenue is important because it allows us to forecast more confidently and be able to staff appropriately and also invest in the client experience. But the membership only works if the client sees ongoing value. So, we can't treat recurring revenue as simply an automatic billing strategy. It really must be supported by the outcomes, convenience, service quality, and a strong relationship with the client.
I love it. Dr. Beam, I'm curious. I was curious about your thoughts on not only the customer point of view, but, I'd love to switch gears on what have you all gotten wrong thus far? Yeah, we'd love to pick your brain on, for
Oh
those
my
listening and
gosh.
watching, what not to do.
What not to do? Oh,
Yeah.
goodness. Okay. Well, you know what?
This is a 2-hour show, by the way, so we got
If
time.
you can,
And
whatever.
2
This could be a
hours.
weekend. You want a weekend webinar? I mean, we could do a weekend whole summit. Like,
There you go.
let's
I
go.
love it.
There we go. We'll start with build out. I don't want to say I don't want to say you get things wrong. You just kind of go, "Oh, shoot, okay, we didn't really think through that." Or sometimes we didn't get correct information from a manufacturer. They kind of spin their little wheel and we'll get it to you. We'll do this and it's super easy. And then you find out, oh my gosh, the thing weighs this many hundreds of pounds and our floor can't support that. And now we're having to put money into creating a subfloor to support the hyperbaric oxygen chambers, for example. I think those were probably, from the build out phase, were probably our biggest. I mean, we love them. They're a big revenue generator, but they were probably the hardest thing from start to finish for us, with the communication to people across in Turkey, to getting it here, to how do we get it into the space, the timing of when the space was going to be open for certain windows so they can get through. I mean, it's just, Kelly, you could probably go into it. I would say, had we known what we know now, I think we would have handled that process a little differently. So I think that we learned some big lessons that were costly with that one.
Yeah.
And time consuming, but also, I don't know, it seemed to end up working in our favor in the end, right, Kelly? As far as the timing of all of it, it kind of did end up working out. So we're like, oh, we're really upset about this and we would do this differently. But at the end of the day, the timing actually did work. Kind of crazy. What do you think, Cal?
Yeah, no, totally. The oxygen chambers definitely gave my hairdresser some good time to get the gray out a little bit. But yeah, that was a bear. It was a bear, and it was a bear to overcome. And you just don't know what you don't know. And you put blind faith into the people that are supposed to be the experts, right? Your contractors, your electricians, your architects, and you're like, well, they got to know, right? And they're gonna point in the right direction, and they're gonna lead us down this path. And everybody's smiling and feels great at the beginning, and then you get into it, and you start to see, you peel back the layers of the onion, and you're like, this isn't right. This doesn't feel right. People aren't telling me the truth. I mean, this age-old story that you hear from people about construction, it's like you have this timeline. We were given a timeline at the very beginning, which seemed way too overzealous and exciting. 4-month build out. Knowing what we know now, there was no way. There was no way. I don't care if you were a magician.
A lot of equipment.
And we didn't have half of the last minute issues that we had. Like, there's no way that our space, which was very elevated and very intricate, was going to take 4 months.
So I'm curious. I'm curious because, I mean, and we hear these stories on the show, right? And everyone that's listening or tuning in, you've been through it, or maybe those are on and tuning in because you're about to go through and you're curious, how do we go through this smoothly? And when you're in a partnership the way the three of you are, I mean, I can't imagine. It's a stressful environment. So how did you all get through that together? How did you make sure that you stayed aligned? How did you get through, which I can only imagine there had to have been disagreements, right? How did you all get through that together?
Well, I mean, first of all, communication is huge. And secondly, I think we have deep respect for each other.
I can't hear myself.
So, I wouldn't say necessarily disagreements, but maybe different points of view. But, we're always open to hearing what the others have to say.
Yeah. I mean, look, the project had its challenges and it got very stressful. You talk about being self-funded, making sure that, we had the dollars and cents and, managing all the different parts of the construction project and all the personalities and everything. And that's not anything that any of us were not accustomed to. I mean, I've been in a boardroom, the only woman in the boardroom. I'm sure, Amy, you've experienced that. Lisette, you've worked in a male-dominated, industry for a long time, and balancing those personalities and those conversations, you have to have a cool head, but because we have that, respect and understanding that we are doing this for the good, that we are passionate about it, you always all come back around and you have the conversations to say, okay, how do we create solutions here? And then you go and meditate and have a kumbaya weekend together, and it all comes back together. But those things are necessary. Those things are necessary, and it's important to have those moments of togetherness where it's not just all about work. It's about relating to each other and understanding each other. And there's lots of things that have gone on in all of our personal lives while all this stuff has been going on, and we really care about each other and love each other. And without that, I don't know how any business really thrives or is successful. And at the essence of our business, of it being something that we're healing others, that is our foundation.
Yeah.
So, stress is stress. That's why we have EXOMIND.
Yeah.
There you go. You see the tools. I'm curious, Amy, now that you've been in it from build out and pre-launch to now post-launch, when you think about it from like the investor hat lens, I get this question a lot from the wellness side of things. And I really do think the longevity side is actually going to revitalize more capital to be injected in wellness. I think it's where you all are positioned really, really well. But as you look at it now, knowing what you know, how do you make it investable? How do you make the fix investable? And I'm going to be sharing this to some of my friends and colleagues. So what are your thoughts? Like, what would you want an investor to know about the fix that would make them really excited about putting their money in?
Gosh, good question. You know, with investors, I mean, first of all, they can see how passionate we are about the business, but just being passionate about the business doesn't necessarily make it successful. And so the fact that we have three very strong women, with the finance, the operations, and the hands-on clinical makes a huge difference.
Right.
One of the things that we are working on is to ensure that, we have repeatable processes. The expectation is that this is only location number one. So it definitely will be looking at expanding, but obviously we get this one to the point that we're comfortable with before we decide to do a second location.
And I was curious about that, Dr. Beam, around expansion plans. And I know I'm putting the cart before the horse. I just get excited. But what from a vision and roadmap perspective, what would that look like? Is that a second location? Is that more capacity at the current location? Is that licensing your model? What are your thoughts? Have you all chatted about what that would look like from a roadmap perspective?
We have, because of course you come into this and you're thinking, boy, this is a great model.
Yes.
When we are before opening, it was like, this is number one. When are we going to roll out number two? We're already thinking future. And
I'm sure some people are like, I want it closer to my home.
Yeah. There's certainly we've learned in this, honestly, we've been open since November. So this is we're still in some of the changing out software systems to see what's going to be right for the space, because we've learned that some of these softwares are built on old models and insurance-based models, and they don't really integrate well with the functional nutrition side and how you do the notes and how you communicate with the patients. And we're on software number 3 right now. I think this will stick, where we can have a portal for patients to view their own information, and we're not involved with a lot of those. So I think right now, this next, I would say probably 6 to 8 months is really us dialing in these systems. And we're growing month over month, by the way, through all of this. So we're having these back of house challenges, but every month we're still growing more, and we're growing more and more. And so I just think that once we've got some of these systems locked in and in place, and we can create that experience for the clients, for the experience for us, so it's not so, we're all working 12-hour days right now. We're in the grind. When we have that dialed in, this is going to just take off. And that's when I think we can say we are ready for number 2. And then number 2, then you're going to have some lessons, I'm sure, with. And then number 3, number 4. And who knows, franchise model. I have always wanted to give back to my chiropractic community. So I would love to help those doctors out there that are new to the industry and are trying to figure out how to make ends meet and feed a family and do all those things, to provide an opportunity to have a ownership model and be able to launch their careers. And, then eventually one day, maybe even develop a foundation so that we can serve some, people who are just are struggling to afford some of these services for themselves. And so the vision is big. We definitely know we want to go in that direction. And I think after these next few months, once we've kind of dialed in a few of these kind of back of house systems and a few tweaking some of the front of house systems, it's go time.
I love it.
It's
Well, I
just
love
gonna
the vision.
it's
It's a
gonna launch.
no-brainer. It's a
Uh,
no-brainer. And I love the name, by the way. I mean,
yeah. Oh, thank
I
you.
could see the fix, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
being franchised for sure. So just
Yeah.
going around the horn real quickly, I want to respect each and y'all's times. I'm sure there's a lot of people coming in and out of there right now. If you could share one thing to a wellness founder and what you would do differently, whether that, we spent a lot of time on the build out today, but anything operationally, anything from the finance angle or capital side of things, or anything clinically, or anything that you all can think of from other founders, other docs that are going to come through and do something like this. Do you
Mm-hmm.
mind sharing
Mm-hmm.
one thing that you can give back to those that are up and coming? We'll
I
start
would
with you,
say,
Kelly. What do you got?
oh, go ahead,
Oh,
go,
go ahead,
Cal.
Dr. Bean.
I mean, I don't know if it's the one thing. It's just the one thing that sticks out in my mind is like I said earlier, do your due diligence to make sure that you have the core team of people that you feel are vetted and trustworthy of the work that you're putting into it. And that's everything from, your architect to your brand person to your contractor to, the system. Like the vetting process is really important.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, people just like, oh, well, so-and-so, this was going to be great. But it's, you need to dig deep a little bit more than just, one or two word of mouth recommendations.
Yeah.
So that's
You
what I
have
would
to
say.
have the best people. I love that. What about you, Amy?
Mhm.
I guess I would say don't underestimate the amount of working capital that you're going to need
Mm,
while the business is building.
Mhm.
When we were initially forecasting revenue, I think we were a little overzealous, and only because we're like, of course, people are going to come in and it's going to be hugely successful, and it is. It's really building, but it's taking longer than we had initially
sure.
anticipated. To build that predictable client base.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I love that. I love
Yeah.
your best practices. Mind your working capital as you're modeling this out, scenario base it just in case,
Yes.
whether we come under or we're over, right? And then give some contingent, especially pre-launch, right? Because I think of all the training and the pre-sales, there's a lot that goes into that too. Dr. Beam,
Yes.
anything that you'd like to share with our up and coming founders and owners?
Really look at your systems. That's your software. Make sure that it's going to support your needs now and in the future. I know from previous and conversations with my own colleagues that they feel like they're looking at the cost. Oh, well, I'll go with this software system. It's cheaper. It's only this much per month. And I'm like, yeah, how much is that going to cost you? And more time and effort later on trying to get it to do what you need it to do. So
Right.
really taking a look at where you want to be as a practice and make that investment early into the right software system and
So good.
let it grow with you so that you're not fighting it all the way through. Because I think that's been an issue with us, from notes to understanding the reporting to understanding a lot of things within the practice. Yeah, I would say, especially if you're going to start off solo by yourself at first and you plan to grow, I would make sure you're really looking at what software is going to support you later on versus right now. I just want to save that dollar. Yeah.
Right.
Invest in your systems. Invest in your systems,
Invest in your
because
tech stack and your
you'll get there
systems.
faster and you'll be
Yeah.
much happier. And you won't be adding on hours on the end of your day with your note taking and your reporting and your all of the other things you got to do.
Yeah. And stack migrations are brutal. They can be brutal.
Yeah, they are. We're going through one right now, and
Yeah.
that goes into looking at, when you're bringing in these different modalities, what's the system? So we're about
Yeah.
to bring in IV, and there's a lot of, as there's a lot of legal contingencies
Yeah.
around that. There's a lot of things that you have to consider. So it's not as simple as, let's put a chair there and an IV stand and bring in a nurse. No,
Right. Yeah. It's
you
not
really.
necessarily just the compliance, but the dosage. And then I will say, and for those maybe I could drop a gem. The big best practice or thing that you would want to watch out for when it comes to IV is COGS, inventory management. That is so key. That's the make it or break it when it comes to IV therapy profitability and it being successful or not, is that inventory management. So having the right system, the tech stack for that is going to be huge.
I
So
think I
good.
that on the last podcast that you just did with
That's right. With
the
Ben.
thing.
Yeah, from Drip Bar. Yeah. So good. Well, how do we learn more about the Fixed Wellness Lounge? Where can we go, Kelly? How can we learn more about it?
Yeah, so our socials at the Fixed Wellness Lounge, and our website is www.thefixedwellnesslounge.com. We are about to relaunch our website here in another few weeks with some new and improved customized look and feel and some more offers. So yeah, come check us out. And we're in Hermosa Beach, California. Beautiful Southern California, not a bad place to be.
So good.
Yeah, great place, good area, nice place to come and visit and travel if you're coming in and out of town. And hey, don't forget the Olympics is around the corner. So we
Yes.
definitely want to be a hub for those people coming in and out to train, visit, and check out Southern California.
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate your all's time. And I know we talked a lot of finance with Amy as well. And so for any fitness, wellness, or longevity operator, franchisor, franchisee who's looking for that CFO level clarity, financial modeling, capital raise prep, private equity readiness, I mention it all the time. Unit economics is key. Make sure to connect with me on LinkedIn or at strategointel.com. This has been another episode of the Owner Seat Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Albert Ramos. And if this is your first time tuning in, all episodes drop every Monday and Friday at 8 a.m. Central. Amy, thank you so much. Kelly and Dr. Beam, thank you so much for your time. This was really, really helpful.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure.